Here we have negative 3 over 8 plus a negative 1 over 10. The first thing I notice here is there's some unnecessary symbols being used. So when we're adding a negative, so we're starting with a negative number, and that negative number, we're adding another negative number, so it's becoming more negative. So when you're adding a negative, that's the same as subtraction. So a plus and a minus, that becomes the overall result of adding a negative is a subtraction. So we could say this is negative 3 over 8 minus, and then we don't need these parentheses either, minus 1 over 10. So you'll see in the original problem, the 3/8 is negative and the 1/10 is negative, and then when I rewrote it, the 3/8 is still negative and the 1/10 is still negative. Okay, so now we have a negative 3/8 minus a 1 over 10. Now, we can't do subtraction with fractions unless we have a common denominator. So we first have to deal with the unlike denominators. We have to deal with the 8 and the 10. And then once we match those up, once we get a common denominator, then we can do the subtraction. Okay, so negative 3 over 8, let me just rewrite this, minus 1 over 10 equals fraction minus fraction. Now, the common denominator is the least common multiple of the denominators, or the first number that is a multiple of both denominators. Another way you could think of that is the smallest number that 8 divides evenly into and that 10 divides evenly into. All right, so what I mean by that is, let's look at the multiples of 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, da 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 da. Okay, so those are the counting by 8s. And then look at counting by 10s. 10, 20, 30, 40. Oh, all right, so now we finally found one number that's a multiple of both. So we have the number 40 is a multiple of 8, and the number 40 is a multiple of 10. So it's a common multiple. And it's the first number, it's the smallest number that this happens for, so it's the least common multiple. All right, so that means we need 40 on the bottom of each fraction. So this 8 here needs to become a 40, and this 10 needs to become a 40. So we can multiply 8 by 5, because 8 times 5 is 40. But we're not allowed to necessarily multiply by 5, because that will change the value of the number. If you take something, you times it by 5, you get something else. The only thing you're allowed to multiply by that doesn't change the value of the fraction is 1, because any number times 1 equals itself. So we're going to multiply by 1, but not the number 1. We're going to multiply number 1 in the form of 5 over 5, because 5 over 5 equals 1. Any number over itself equals 1. But in this case, we're going to use the number 5 for both the numerator and the denominator. So that 5 over 5 is 1, specifically because we need a 5 on the bottom. So 8 times 5 will give us 40. And so top times top, bottom times bottom. Bottom times bottom gives us the 40 that we want. And then on top, we have a negative 3 times a 5. That is a negative 15. And we'll do the same thing with the 10, except we won't use 5 over 5. We'll use 4 over 4, because 10 times 4 gives us 40. And again, top times top is 1 times 4. Bottom times bottom is 40. And now that we have a common denominator, now we can do the subtraction. Okay, so the 40 stays. And we have a negative 15 minus a 4, or the negative 15 is getting more negative, so negative 15 minus 4 should be negative 19. And that does it for this problem. Okay, I hope this was helpful.